as soon as we shifted our mindset, everything just changed for us. And like Locke changed so much, you know, not just as a farmer or a business owner, but as a husband and a father to our 3 kids. When our eldest James was little, Locke was working full time in town and being a farmer on the weekends and after hours, and James never saw him. We all were doing our best, but Locke was always out on the farm. And then when the other 2 came along, especially our youngest George, he's like, no, you know, something has to change. And the relationship between George and Locke is incredible. And I think we just needed to change how you can look at how farmers farm, and we're just like, we have to be like them and, you know, work all the time and not go to cricket training and all these things. But you don't actually have to. You do it your way. And the fact that we took everything on board that we've learnt at Farm Owners and changed the way we farm, changed the way we are a family, and it's just changed so much.
Welcome to the Profitable Farmer podcast, where we share stories and tips to help you run a better farming business and create your very own freedom farm. If you're looking to work smarter and not harder in your farm business, welcome. You're in the right place. G'day everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to 2026. I hope this finds you incredibly well. I hope that 2025 has been a positive year for you and that you're making steps to set up really strongly with your planning and budgeting and team alignment processes to really make 2026 a winner. In this episode, I'm delighted to invite Hayley Grosser, one of our senior farm accountability coaches, to interview one of her members who is an award winner with us, a graduate to our 3-year program, and just a fantastic farm business success story and a fantastic family. Before I introduce Lachlan and Anna Sutton to you, I just want to shout out to Hayley, who's been a business coach with us for some years. I've interviewed Hayley and her husband Marty on this podcast. Hayley's a fantastic coach and just does an incredible job going above and beyond in her support to her members who are part of the FOA community. So Hayley, thank you so much for your dedication, your loyalty, and the intent with which you support members like Lachlan and Anna. It's great having you host this session and interview 2 of your incredible members. So Hayley will interview Lachlan and Anna Sutton, who farm near Wentworth, near Mildura in New South Wales. I'm not going to give away too much other than to say that Lachlan and Anna can be so proud of their journey with us through the PM program. They're first generation farmers and have been committed to a career in agriculture for most of their lives. But to look at what they've achieved in this last 2 years, the 10 times plus growth that they've achieved across multiple enterprises, and now what the future looks like for them, it's an outstanding story. And to think that you both arrived to us feeling real fatigue with a young family and businesses in their early stages of development, and to see how you busted through that to achieve so much growth, and now to have set down the foundations with a focus on systems and team and strategy to now be able to lean in to the next stage of your advancement. It's a great story. So Lachlan and Anna, thank you for tracking with us. Thank you for sharing your story. Congratulations on your success. And I shall hand over to Hayley to enjoy a conversation with you. And to our listeners, I hope you enjoy this just as much as I do listening to it. Thank you. And over to you, Hayley.
So today I'm joined by a family who has absolutely exploded over the past 18 months. And what I love about their story isn't just the scale, it's who they've become in the process. So really looking forward to this conversation today, and welcome Lachie and Anna. So good to have you here.
It's great to be with you, Hayley.
Hello.
What I'm really excited about in this conversation is because what you've achieved in the last 18 months is nothing short of extraordinary, from the conversations that we had back at the start and where you are now. I would really just like to give listeners a bit of an idea of where you farm, a little bit about yourselves, just before we get a bit deeper into that.
So we farm predominantly in southwest New South Wales, near a town called Wentworth. So we're right on the Darling River. So we run predominantly a lamb finishing business. This year we'll have up to 10,000 lambs on grain, alongside an organic almond orchard of all things. And then we've also got a 50-50 joint venture in the southeast of SA, which is a composite and first cross ewe mixed farming system, but predominantly lamb production down there. As well as that, we've also got a vertically integrated meat business trading as red dirt lamb, which sort of culminates in both a shop front and a digital presence online as well.
And it's pretty incredible to see your journey. I would love to just kind of go back to that point 18 months ago. So we had a conversation before you joined Farm Owners. So I had this random call on my phone, and it was you. And you had listened to a podcast, I think, and you'd also attended Top Producers. And you gave me a call to basically see if Farm Owners was a fit for you and whether you were in the right place or not. And I just want you to go back to that point in time, and I just want you to reflect on what was going through your mind at the moment. Where was business at for both you and where you were at, Anna, as well too, in life? What everything looked like and what prompted you to make that call?
Yeah, so I think we've been sort of producing under our own right in a really small scale. I think we only had sort of 400 or 500 ewes on pretty well, and still just working so hard. I was still consulting and still doing other bits of work around. And Anna, you were still working?
Yeah, I was nursing 2 to 3 days a week in Wentworth and very burnt out and, struggling with doing shift work in town and trying to raise 3 small children living so far out of town, I guess.
And we were sort of, for me particularly, like we just wanted to be farming. Like we do love it, but we'd sort of gotten that opportunity. And then it was like, oh, this is all getting really, really hard. We're still not making any money. We're not big enough. And it just, we were still operating on leased ground. We didn't own anything, which we were still grateful for the opportunities, don't get me wrong, but it was just fairly daunting. And I think if we had a meeting with you or with Sam, I think, as well, Hayley, I remember Anna sort of writing on the page as we were having the conversation, sort of, we need this to get through. So sort of was from that moment on, really.
And what did scale look like? How much were you running? What was kind of revenue turnover roughly at that time?
In our trading business in lamb, we were probably sub $200,000 revenue. Obviously, sheep prices a couple of years ago weren't great. Yeah, I think we were $4. I think we locked in at $4 to $4.80 or something. I think at one point there, I'll try to block that out if I'm being honest. So things were challenging. We still loved it, and everything, but it wasn't really going anywhere, I suppose. If it was going to, it was going to be just through sheer grit and determination of hard work and the sacrifice of the family.
Yeah, 100%. And when you joined Farm Owners, what shifted? What was the first catalyst that kind of made this growth go?
For me, the first sort of thing for me with Farm Owners was the Top Producers couple of days, and just the energy in there. And I just remember listening to Greg Johnson speak, and I'm just like, this guy, because I'm a numbers person and everything, and just listening to him, how he rattled things off and how he broke it down, I'm just like, yeah, this is unbelievable. The mindset behind it as well, that's been the biggest shift for me, is just sort of working through that instead of just looking at that scarcity of what we can't do and there's never enough and everything, and to sort of just working out ways to make it work. It's been the biggest change so far for me.
Yes, I miss the Top Producers, so I just had Locke come home and just rave about this thing that we needed to be involved in, and I just support Locke. I'll always listen to what he has to say. And then when I think it was the Queensland deep dive.
The first deep dive.
The first one. It was very overwhelming, but it was just amazing and it was life-changing. You go into a room and I didn't realise you could have so many positive people in a room, and it didn't matter if you were just starting out or if you'd been in it for 40 years, like the farming game. Everyone was positive, and to come away with just like this new version of us in farming was pretty amazing, and it was life-changing.
It's just unbelievable when you, like I said, that first one where you went there, and it was there's obviously within the farm owners community, there's some massive operations, and then there's people like us that are starting out, but there's no egos or anything like that. Everyone just turns up to help other people. It's and that's been one of the biggest takeaway. The people that we've met through sort of from that day on was just instantly just made a big change within us.
Yeah, the community within farm owners is something that's really incredible, and I think something that you need to experience firsthand to really understand, what happens in the room and the feeling in the room. It's such a strength that happens. And I want you to fast forward now to today, and then I'd love to kind of go back and unpack kind of the journey along the way. So give everybody an idea of where you're at today, because you wouldn't even recognize your business kind of when you walked in the door of farm owners, and then now. I would love to, go a bit in detail as to where you're at now, and then we'll start talking about, how we got there and what the steps were along the way.
Yeah. So now we settled our first farm, which on the 1st of October. So that's all settled now, and we'll just about finish moving and expanding our feedlot enterprise to this new site, which we're incredibly proud of. I was sort of standing up on the loading ramp the other day, looking out over it, and just like, yep, this is really cool. And so we've settled the place, and we've expanded to currently, I think we'll finish the year with around 6,500 lambs on grain between ourselves and a custom feeder doing that. We've expanded our southeast aggregation as well to this year. I think we'll join 3,500 to 3,700 breeding ewes down there and trade a few thousand lambs. So that's sort of down to our business partner, sort of Anna's brother down there, who does a tremendous job managing that. He's just the growth within that business has been incredible, and the performance within that business in terms of production. Again, lease ground, sort of forcing us to work hard and manage cash flow and everything, which has been a challenge. But so that's sort of where we're at now. And then plus we've got our first almond crop, which is due to hit the ground in the end of January as well. So really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so good watching what you've been able to achieve. And from a scale perspective, what do things look like now? How many acres are you managing? What does revenue look like now? Where are you currently sitting?
We've got over 10,000 acres under management across both aggregations. So we're, in terms of the Southwest New South Wales aggregation, sort of we're quite small compared to other people in terms of land areas, but again, land's not scale necessarily like revenue is. So we've been able to, we're on track to do sort of more than 10 times of what we started in terms of revenue up here, which is incredibly exciting in less than 2 years. And our capacity by the time we finish the feedlot in another week will be over 7,500 lambs on. So we're aiming to do well over 20,000 lambs this financial year through on grain. So, which is really, like, compared to where we started, we didn't even have, to be honest, we'd emptied out our feedlot this time last year. So to go from literally 0 lambs on grain to finish the year on 6,500 is really exciting.
You talk about vertical integration and you talk about red dirt lamb. Can you give just listeners an understanding of how that come about, Anna, and how that's grown to where it is? Because I know, like, when you first started red dirt lamb, one of your big goals was to get red dirt lamb into restaurants in Adelaide, and you achieved that really, really early on. So I would love to hear a bit more about what vertical integration looks like in your business, and then also the rise of red dirt lamb and how that's had an impact on your life as well too.
I suppose I'm not sure if, I know there's plenty of people that are passionate about the lamb industry, but I'd put myself right up in terms of like the whole product. Like, when we used to have on-farm butchers come out, like it was my Graceland really. It was unbelievable. And Anna sort of
Locke always had the passion for the meat. I loved it, but I didn't really have a passion for it. My passion was nursing for over 14 years. And then one day I was at a rural women's day and they asked us to close our eyes and picture where we're happiest, and my happiest place is on the farm with Locke and our 3 kids, and I knew I had to figure a way to get away from nursing. I didn't want to lose my identity of being able to do something. I literally just thought of red dirt lamb. I kind of didn't realize how much work was involved, but I just said I was going to do it, and I did it, and it's just boomed. It's been a lot of work, but also just a lot of fun work, I guess. Yeah, I came up with the idea, came up with the name, and we just kind of went for it. We just started with selling to family and friends, and then they realised, the taste, the difference in taste, difference in quality. So then, decided to go online and do online orders. And I think it was our 3-year goal was to get it in a restaurant in Adelaide, and that happened within 6 months.
I think it was within 2 months, yeah.
Within 2 months, we had our meat in a restaurant in Adelaide, and, it didn't, I guess, last a long time, but we got it in there. People tasted it. We had very positive with the taste and everything. It just probably wasn't the right timing with just starting out. I didn't really understand what it meant when restaurants only wanted select cuts and what that meant for all the rest of the carcass. So it was pretty amazing, but we kind of slowed down a bit for a couple of months and then ramped back up. And now we have a shop front in our little town of Wentworth, which is open on a Friday afternoon and for a couple of hours on a Saturday. And we're always busy. It's really great to see our regulars come in and, they're always happy to have a chat about, if they want something different. We get custom orders as well, or like a full lamb or half a lamb.
We've got some really exciting things happening in the new year with some local restaurants and wineries and everything as well. So I suppose the big thing is, it's just great to be able to be at the shop front and actually talk to people about where their food comes from. And with us, with the genetics right through to the finishing systems, both grass and grain and everything like that. It's I really enjoy, especially the old bushies that come in, and just sort of it's been an interesting thing. Everyone's with social media and everything, everyone's got an opinion on how long to hang lambs and how to count sheep properly. It's the 2 most emotive topics in the Australian sheep industry, I think. It's quite funny.
But it's amazing that they come in and they just support us. They come in and they will, sometimes we only have Dorper lambs for sale and they're like, oh, well, we don't usually eat that. I was like, well, why don't you try it? And then they come back and they only want Dorper, but they said they were only Merino people. And it's just the support of everybody.
People saying thank you.
To have good quality meat.
For meat, that's the one thing always, someone in the supermarket pulled me up and just said, oh, thank you for what you've done for the town.
Yeah. Hasn't had a butcher since I was a little girl. And so everyone has missed the quality of meat, and it helps that I grew up in this community, I guess. And, everyone knows Locke around the town. So everyone has just supported us and are always very happy to buy our lamb.
Great thing that I've seen in your business is that right from the start you've been very values led. So you've run your business by values, and part of that has been community and being able to have that contact with community. You look at it from that perspective. Have you been able to sit back and reflect about what you have been able to bring to the town? So when people are coming up to you and they're saying, wow, thank you, especially if there hasn't been a butcher in town for so long, and you just sit there and you go, actually, our business is having this really great impact over and above whatever we, ever thought it could be possible.
Yeah, I feel really proud. Once I got into nursing and once I became a mum, I honestly didn't think that I would do anything that would really make me, other than being a mum, make me really proud again. Like, I achieved my goal. I was a nurse. I was good at it. I kind of only thought I would be proud of what my children achieve from now on. But it's actually really cool to sit back and be proud of something that we've done and that I've worked really hard on, and completely out of my comfort zone, very, very much out of my comfort zone. And it's nice to be, just really proud of what we've done and how much the community really, I guess, we're waiting for something like this to happen. It's really nice to walk down the street and everyone calls out to George, comments about the video that was on social media, or, it's something like that. It's really a nice feeling, actually.
I think that's the one thing, though, that farm owners is sort of, I think sometimes we go in maybe a little bit with sort of the whole thing's a zero-sum game, but like the podcast would go for 3 hours if I spoke about all the people that have helped us, particularly in the last 12 months as we've really ramped up the scale, like just our stock agent, our transporter, like those guys, what they've done for us and how they turn up every day. Like, sort of one thing we talk about, sort of year 18 or whatever, and like we're so grateful for that. Like the custom feeders we work with, like they've been so good to us. Like, and to be able to see that and ask for that help, and along the way, like neighbours and all that, it's we're so grateful for what they've done for us. It's unbelievable how it's just, I think sometimes we sort of look back with such a scarcity mindset and how rural and regional communities are struggling in that, but there's still some really, really great people out there and some businesses really kicking some goals, and it's nice to be associated with them.
Yeah, 100%. And gratitude is something that has stood out to me from you guys right from the start. And I think part of that is because you have started from scratch, like everything that you've built from both of you. And I think, there's an inherent gratitude that goes with that, because you're grateful to be farming, you're grateful to be following your passion, you're grateful to be following your dream. And I really want to touch on a conversation that we had a while ago where you were saying about like the 12-year-old you that actually rang the bank and put in an application to buy a farm. All of this today started with that dream that happened when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, so our family farm was exited before I went away to boarding school, and obviously there's that attachment to family farms, which is great, but and that was a challenge sort of with moving forward, because all I really want to do is farm and everything like that. And in hindsight, it's been a great opportunity, and now I'm incredibly grateful for all that to occur, because we wouldn't be sitting here today probably. But I think I made my first phone call to a bank manager when I was around 12 or 13 years old at school to see how I could buy a farm. And then he said, you need to get me a cash flow. And sort of this is back before everyone had computers in school. So actually, I wish I still had it, but actually hand wrote the cash flow, cut out a picture of the property in the land newspaper and sent it away to him. And then rang him to follow up, and he goes, "How old are you?" And I'm like, sort of this age. And he goes, "Look, we can't actually loan you any money until you're older than 18, but good work." And it's sort of gone on from there. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's all been linearly sort of growth, and it was challenging at times, because obviously it's so challenging to get into farming with the way land prices are and everything. But with farm owners, once we sort of saw those opportunities, like it's now we're actually probably almost too many opportunities hitting us at once. It's really, really great. But that's how it sort of started for me. And then sort of throughout my career and my life, just tried to gear everything towards that end goal. So whether it was university, sort of doing agribusiness, and then every time when I was in commodity marketing, sort of trying to learn off those best farmers around that I could, and then into consulting and everything. I've been really incredibly grateful for the journey. In hindsight, probably not always during it, but in hindsight, it's got us to where we are today.
And you mentioned in that part about, it can be tricky to get into farming now, and, it can be quite high cost. Can you take us through a little bit about your journey of how you've been able to ramp up scale and how you've done it non-linearly, in terms of like it hasn't looked like, your normal standard, how you would go into farming?
Yeah, so we started on lease country, which, I mean, as you know, Hayley, like having leases, there's nothing really geared in agri finance, really. Like, and I think I've run every single financial intermediary in Australia to try and work things at times, but like it makes it incredibly challenging to get finance to fund that growth. So to be honest, like in some ways, it's just that part's just been an absolute grind. But again, it comes back to our key partners, our agents and our transporters and those guys who have just turned up for us time and time again. And it's like from sort of that and our grain suppliers and I mean, sort of neighbours just helping us. Like those things have really just funded our growth a lot, best we can. And then sort of we've been so privileged now to have secured land. It's made agri finance a lot easier and everything like that. But it's mainly been trying to look at deploying capital where we can get the most bang for our buck, which is having it pretty well in an animal more so than dirt running around. Where we look at it, and it's where our passion is. Like we love finishing lambs. We love seeing sort of grow out. Like it's really exciting. It's pretty well.
And you've scaled pretty rapidly, and in a way it looks like an overnight success, 20 years in the making or back from when you were 12 years old. It hasn't not come with challenges, and we've talked a lot about how the more rapid the growth, the more kind of squeeze points or more challenges that tend to arise because, you're growing so fast that it tends to like get out in front of you a little bit. So I'm just wondering if you could touch on maybe like 2 or 3 of the key challenges that have probably come up over the last 18 months as you've scaled and just some reflections on, how you've moved through those.
I mean, initially cash flow, and I mean not every farm business, but a lot of farm businesses have similar challenges. It's particularly those that are growing. Trying to fund that cash flow has been one of the biggest challenges. And again, coming from a person who's got 4 degrees in business and everything, like to try and manage that. And the mental challenge around that has been astronomical. And then also just our systems sort of focus as well. The systems to run 500 ewes as opposed to joining over 4,000 ewes across the aggregation and trying to finish a few tens of thousands of lambs well, and managing the grain and everything associated with that business and property development and whatever along the way, that's completely different. And then sort of thirdly for me though is just that mental challenge. Like it's not an easy thing when you've got this really big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And then you're trying to work towards it. But the journey in the middle is definitely not linear. Like there's ups and downs, and just comes back to that team around, which Anna's obviously like number one in the team for me. Like, and we are a team together, and she can probably speak to it more than me. But just having that mental fortitude to be able just to keep going, and because it feels like sometimes it's just like that sort of game of Minesweeper on the computer. You're just like worried. You just feels like you always sort of got something that's just popping up, and okay, we've got to go again. And plus the extended team as well, keeping them going. We're so fortunate. We've got a couple of great people that work for us. For me, it's that number 3. Like I said, the cash flow is a challenge and the systems are the challenge, but just trying to keep that mental side going, shiny side up. Again, no, I'm not alone there and everyone else, but that's been the biggest challenge and probably the biggest thing that without farm owners who definitely wouldn't have been able to achieve it.
No. And there's been a lot of burnout as well. Before we joined Farm Owners, I actually didn't know what burnout was. And yeah, it has been a lot. Some days are, pretty hard to watch Locke struggle with the load. Because, Locke does most of it by himself, the thinking. I get out and I'm physical on the farm, and I quit my job in nursing a number of months ago, so I'm more hands-on working with Locke in the paddocks, but I don't do the finance. I don't do any of that. And so to watch Locke go through that by himself and to see the struggles, and I can't help in that, is really hard. Like, he does feel quite alone. But what we've managed to do is really amazing, but it has pushed us, and it has, not broken us, but we are exhausted, where we've probably pushed ourselves more than we ever thought we could or would. You know, I'm so proud of both of us, but it's Lachlan's mental strength that has really got us to where we are, because we could have stopped numerous times. We, in hindsight, maybe should have stopped to have a bit of a break and regroup. Yeah, it's Lach's determination and mental strength that's got us to where we are. And I'm so glad we didn't stop doing it, because it is amazing to sit back and watch what we've achieved. But it's been hard, and it's hard not to get jealous isn't the right word, but sometimes it would be really easy if we'd been handed a lot more, given a lot more, or if we'd started with a parcel of land, we could have used that equity for finance. But we've had help along the way, obviously, but we have slogged our guts out to get where we are. And, we've got 3 little children who come with us, who are in the car, who are in the yards, who are tired and cranky sometimes in the heat, but they're out there with us trying to build this dream of ours. And yeah, it's been hard, but it's now, I can say, it's now worth the burnout and the fatigue and the mental stress.
Yeah, as I said, I was reflecting on this the other day, and said everyone's got their own challenges, and for me, I'm so fortunate, our seasonality and everything's not a big, it doesn't really stress me. That's as I said, I'm so grateful to, whereas other people, obviously they're turning up every day, and for those dealing with harvest and everything at the moment, and it's in every way really, I'm grateful that we've been able to forge what our business looks like, and not have the baggage of that multi-generational operation, that they've got to carry on that legacy. We get to create what our own legacy is. And as hard as that was to find that gratitude, though, because when you got that scarcity mindset, and it's always you look over the fence and you see what you want to see, right? You don't see the challenges and everything else. Whereas our challenges are, we can do what we want, really. We're so fortunate in that way that we don't have to carry on multi-generational legacies, which that can be such a challenge. And for me, the burnout, I'm thankful for farm owners to be able to help us manage that, and sort of like yourself and Tracy and even some of the resources, as well as our mastermind group and those that we've met along the way. But that self-awareness now as to when we're starting to go down that rabbit hole and pulling up, and because, as I said, farmers are our own worst enemy at times. I saw a meme the other day that was when a farmer tells you that he's going to be home in 5 minutes, and it's about 3 hours later, and this keep going. And it's just, I don't know what it is, where it's ingrained in our subconscious somewhere, that it's just keep going at all costs. And for me, it's just, it's easy to do, and it's hard to pull up, but I'd encourage everyone sort of to just take a breath a little bit at times before you sort of just push yourself a bit too hard.
Yeah. And I think it's a really great reminder, because it's very easy for us to look at the external success. It's really easy to look at the fact that you've scaled so big in 18 months, your turnover's 10 times in 18 months. On the outside, all of the results, people can tend to look at that and go oh my God, things are amazing. You mentioned about us being able to look at multi-generational farms and going, oh, that must be so good. But internally, things can be completely different. And I think it's all good to see those results. But on the inside, I know in the last 18 months, a lot of what we've worked on together hasn't necessarily been about the things that you've been doing, but it's actually been around your mindset. And it's been about the conversations we've had are working through the challenges in a way to shift perspective, and for you to be able to see things in a different way, so that it's had the ability to unlock those next opportunities or go to the next level. And I think the mindset part and your well-being part is a really good, reminder for everybody that it really starts there first. You mentioned that without the support around you, you're not sure where you would have been, going through this challenging time. I just would love you to talk to that, and talk to just how important it is to have that support around.
as I said, before farm owners, you'd wake up each day and you just like get the sweats on, you start to feel that anxiety to start to hit, and then your day would automatically just sort of deteriorate from there, really, which was, of course, hard to make good decisions when your mind's sort of not there, or you're distracted, or you're spending 90% of your time worrying about what's going to go wrong instead of putting 90% of your efforts into 100% of your efforts into everything getting right for me. So, I mean, I'm grateful for Anna. Like, as I said, without her, like, I wouldn't have said it's been easy on her, like our journey along the way, by any means. Like, she'd probably punch me in the leg for if I tried to gloss over that. But I suppose the big shift for me is like when I wake up, and I wouldn't, again, this is not linear. Like, I wouldn't say that hasn't been without ups and downs, and as you grow, you get new challenges and everything. But I mean, just that mental state of how to turn up every day is completely different, and our results have flowed from there. More importantly, into their personal life and into the family and the kids, and how you turn up there, for me, has probably been more important than any profit and loss statement or balance sheet. Like, as I said, if I had have gotten another 10 years down the track as to where I was before farm owners, like, I would have had so many regrets. Like, kids would have been off a boarding school, and I would have had a 10-year gap where I would have just looked back and gone, yeah, I worked really, really hard, and that's great, but that's that time I'm not going to get back. So it's that mental state where it's like, yep. And again, not linear, definitely up and down curve, but I think sort of that and being able to turn up and sort of say, okay, this is how we're going to cope with the next challenge. Whereas 3 years ago, it would have been in the corner, shaking and just not being able to deal with it. But again, like I said, the team around, like yourself and what you've done in coaching calls and in mastermind calls, the rest of the team in our mastermind group, like we've had people here and just that support, like it's just a genuine care. There's just no zero-sum game. Like when Greg and Deb come here, like that was just, it's quite an emotional day because like you just realise how much they actually genuinely care about all their clients and all the people in the community and what they do. Like, it's quite extraordinary. So it's, yeah, as I said, for me, like, definitely probably would have given up, I reckon, by now, or just wound it right back and just gone back. I don't know.
I think we would have given up, to be honest. And I think as soon as we shifted our mindset, everything just changed for us. And like Locke changed so much, not just as a farmer or a business owner, but as a husband and a father to our 3 kids. When our eldest James was little, Locke was working full time in town and being a farmer on the weekends and after hours, and James never saw him. We all were doing our best, but Locke was always out on the farm. And then when the other 2 came along, especially our youngest George, he's like, no, something has to change. And the relationship between George and Locke is incredible, and George just wants to be out on the farm bossing everyone around. But I think we just needed to change how you can look at how farmers farm, and we're just like, we have to be like them and, work all the time and not go to cricket training and all these things. But you don't actually have to. You do it your way. And the fact that we took everything on board that we've learnt at Farm Owners and changed the way we farm, changed the way we are a family, and it's just changed so much, even for me. And I, think I've always been pretty good with being able to adapt. And once you shift that mindset that you literally can do anything, you don't have to follow everyone's rules. You don't have to be a people pleaser. You can do your own thing, run your own race. And because of that, our whole lives are different, are better.
I mean, it's back in the day when we first started, I used to work full time. I'd come home. Sometimes I'd pick up a bulker bag or a shuttle of grain on the way home, come home, have dinner. This is with a newborn baby. And then go out the feedlot because I had no money and bucket grain out of a shuttle at the night time. That's how we started feeding lambs. And thinking farmers, at least they'll challenge your mindset too. The worst part of that story is the bucket I was using was tiny. It wasn't even big. When the first feed cart, I got literally just started almost crying. I was like, I got no more bucketing grain. Like, it was just, and that's, it's great on some of the positive mindset stuff, but as well as being able to be challenged and say, well, why are we actually doing this? Like, that's in the way that you guys do it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and you made the comment the other day, now you've got to drive the buggy from one end of the feedlot to the other.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Such an amazing progression, isn't it? And it's like, it's amazing, like, we can be super resourceful, like, when we need to be, because you had the passion, and then it's like, you know, you can go over time and that passion can dwindle. But I think you come in at a point where you took on every challenge, and you took on, like, you know, I continually threw challenges at you about the way you were thinking, the way you were doing things, and you would just take them on, and then you'd show up the next call and you'd be like, I've put this in place. What's next? And that's probably the biggest thing that I found from both of you is just your eagerness, your curiosity, your openness to learn, and you've kind of gone in and gone, right, I feel like, you know, we're just going to wipe the slate and go, we know nothing, and start again to an extent. And I think, like, that's really shown as to where you are now. And then the way that you've been able to handle going through the challenges, especially around cash flow, like we've talked about, your expansion has gone first, and then you've had to catch the cash flow up to an extent at times, and how tricky and mentally draining that can be. And also just the property transfer as well. Like, you've got this really great vision for what that property looks like, and you've gone kind of a left field way about going into land. And I think it's incredible. Like, I think that's sometimes from where you started, I think it's the resourcefulness that carries through, but it tends to change over time in terms of how you use that resourcefulness. And I think that's been such a credit to you both in terms of your journey. I would love to think about, in that point of growth, like the last 18 months, what have been the things that you've been most proud of?
I'm most proud of Locke, to be honest. There were days where he should not have kept going. There are days where he could have just stayed in bed. There were days where I would have screamed at the universe, but he kept not only showing up to the business, but he never, obviously, we've been married a while and we have fights, but he's still always puts me first. He still managed to get to footy training, get to netball training. If I was doing a long shift, pick up the kids at school, go bowling with James in the afternoon, take George for hours on the farm, all while managing everything that was going on around him that no one sees, when quite a silent thing when you're trying to build a business from scratch and, you know, scale up so fast. But the fact that Locke just kept going and going and going when I think most people would have just stopped and they would have done something else, but the passion for farming, but then also the life he knows that I desperately want and the kids want. I think that is the best thing about it, is that Locke has just managed to still be, you know, there's been days, but brilliant, and be able to, like, I would have crushed under that pressure. I would be in a psych ward for sure, but he just kept going and showing up and still being a good person. And I think that is the best thing. Like, he could have acted not very nice on those hard days, but he didn't. And he came home and he cooked dinner most nights as well, just to see the kids. And I think that's the proudest. I'm most proud of just him being him.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Like I said, I said, just having Anna and everything, and like she's, yeah, obviously there all the time as well, and trying to raise 3 kids and manage a meat business. And we should have said at the start, she's probably the only person that's actually started a lamb meat business and not actually knowing any of the cuts of the lamb. So I suppose, like, yeah, for me as well, like the way our wider network just turns up for us. Like I said, we did a load of lambs on Sunday, and we were sitting there just talking with that truck driver who does most of our work, and just we were just both reflecting on the year, and he sort of said that his business has gone through huge amounts of growth as well alongside us, and similar with our stock agent as well. Like, their businesses we're all growing at the same time, and so our custom feeders, and it's probably we get in our own bubble so much and we can't see over the fence. And I'm just really proud of how some of those people turn up. Like, I'm not sure if it's my spot to feel pride in how they operate, but how they integrate within our business and having some of the difficult conversations. Some of them aren't easy conversations to have. And like, as I said, how they turn up to us and how I like to think that we turn up to them as best we can. And I know with farm motors and everything, we've sort of got to maintain above the line and everything. But some days it isn't easy, like what we're trying to do. And for me, as I said, just to have 2 or 3 key people on the phone that you know it's going to be right and that are always in your corner, like that's the stuff. When my grandfather first started farming, like the agent forewent the commission on the place so we could get in, and that stuff still happens. Not so much foregoing commission, but just people still willing to turn up and help, and it's bloody good.
Yeah, the relationships that you build in agriculture, and you talked about your A team earlier, it has been really key to your growth. And I think for everybody out there that is probably not putting emphasis on those relationships and on those having people in the corner, I think they're leaving not only money on the table, but I think they're leaving so much more in terms of just what that brings to business and brings to life when you can have those key relationships around you. Yeah,
definitely. And like, as I said, they all add their individual bits to our business. Like, I mean, even just sheep yard setups, like just how to do that a bit more efficiently and right through to animal welfare and how we're loading trucks and right through our accountants and sort of advisor and all that sort of stuff and sort of Anna's brother in the southeast. It's like he's got a great team around him as well, like neighbours and agronomists and everything. Like, it's, you look at the numbers of the business and the land and the animals and the production and the turnover and all the stuff we all get caught up in. But I think sometimes we forget about that team around us and that A team, and you can't do it on your own. Like, you end up just, I mean, I know a lot of people try and just keep working and grinding, and that's, as I said, if that's working, by all means, that's great. And I know there's a lot of successful people that operate like that, but I'm so grateful for the team.
Yeah, 100%. And I can relate completely to that, because our business and the growth that we've achieved has been based on the relationships that we've held as well too. Like, they've been so key to our growth. And like you said, there are lots of people who do and can function without that. But I think as a growing business and as ones that started from scratch, like, relationships are absolutely key.
I think with showing a bit of vulnerability towards them too, like just saying, we've got a massive problem here. Are you guys able to be part of the solution to it or not? Like, and that's one thing for me, like, always trying just to keep battling through, and I would always try and come up with solutions, and that's, learning that that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. We've got to take accountability, don't get me wrong, like, there's no shifting accountability to someone else, and if there's a problem, like, we've got to maintain it, but maintain the accountability, but just other people out there a lot of the time have much better solutions than we can come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of where to next, so we've talked a lot recently about your next level of growth is not going to be the same as the growth that you've had. And it's not in terms of what that looks like from external results, but you've done this last 18 months with a lot of hard yards and a lot of hard work. And so, like, we've talked a lot about the next shift to where you're going next has to be completely different, because what got you here is not going to get you to the next step. So I would love you to talk about where the next step looks like. You've got a pretty incredible BHAG, so I'd love you to tap into that. And in terms of what needs to change in order for you to go to the next level in a way that is sustainable and in alignment with what you want as a business and in life.
Yeah, so our BHAG's to have a $100 million values-led agribusiness, which reinvigorates rural and regional communities. I suppose we love where we live, we're grateful for where we live, and we just want to be a part of changing the narrative around sort of degradation of rural and regional communities. So that's at the core of our business. And And at times, that does get lost as you're growing and out there sort of just slogging away. But every time you come back to your clarity action plan, like it's always just makes you feel, we're working towards something greater than us. So for us, it sort of comes back to people. So we've got a few opportunities we're working on in the new year. We're sort of trying to get some other people on board with us to keep growing our team out on farm. But then they're also working with a couple of other partners with a fund and a collaboration where we can get younger people back on farms. That, again, the narrative around land's too expensive, the bigger getting bigger, et cetera, through that avenue, we're trying to come up with ways that we can put people into agribusiness and into farming businesses where they're not going to go broke. They're set up with the support mechanisms around them so their mental state's solid and they can grow. And we've got some really cool opportunities coming up in the new year that hopefully, they will provide that opportunity for the next generation. So that's a big thing for us, probably, back to people and continue to expand the business that way, but also in a way that, keeps our towns going, really. Like, we want to see a flourishing office in the main street of Wentworth. Like, that's already got it picked out, and we want to see sort of younger people in some ways with us, like as I said, with profit share models or whatever, where they can come back in and they've got their next 20 or 30 year career path set where they can be part of the ownership of the business and not just have to go through some of the challenges we went through. They can learn from them by all means, because if we don't get to share, then it's been probably all a bit of a waste in some regards. But if we can do that in a way that we get those people back on farm. And as well for us, we see farming as not just jackaroos, gillaroos, sort of tractor drivers. Like, we honestly believe with our business that in another 10 years we'll have someone like a data analyst working for us, for instance. And I think if you could have someone like that, I know they can be anywhere in the world, but if we could have someone like that in a town like Wentworth, that just gets away from that narrative that a small town, like, you sort of either got to go away to achieve something in life or you're going to be nothing. Like, whereas if we can have those sorts of opportunities and roles within a spot where housing's a lot cheaper, there's a great community, great sporting clubs and everything, like, that just gets that narrative going again. And that's my dream, is just to see that happen. We've got 10 or 20 people in an office in town where you can walk in and they're just all happy and all got shared sort of skin in the game and not just out sort of sitting on a motorbike. Those jobs obviously are essential and we want people to be doing them, but we just see what we're creating as something bigger, hopefully.
Yeah, I love that. And we've talked a lot too around that shift into that $100 million entity. Like, I know, we quite often bring it up in a joke, around, not even a joke, but we just bring it up around referring to it as $100 million lock or $100 million like Lachlan and Anna. Like, we're referring to it all the time. And I would love you to speak to just that identity shift that needs to happen in order to step into that next version of you, or into that person who is running a business that is having $100 million of assets under management. Yeah, what does that look like, and what does it feel like when you're making that shift?
That's a pretty good question. Probably being willing to talk about it initially, and now I've just spoken about a podcast that's going out into the nether regions. It's out into the wilderness. It's there now. I suppose it's probably the easiest way to look at it is to go backwards. And for me, like, when we had a handful of breeding ewes, it was always just scarcity. This is all too hard. Blaming property prices, blaming commodity prices, blame. And once we got out of that, there is so much opportunity around in ag. And I mean, one of the stories that really resonates for me is Charlie Mort's story through Mort & Co. Like, it's just that massive business that started just from custom feeding, and you look to where that business has grown now and how massive that is, and that's through no land, no multiple generational ownership or whatever. Like, I just really like the story and that tenacity to be able to do it and that mindset, because once you start actually accepting that, yes, there is opportunities out there, they may just not necessarily be where we're looking. Like, that's that mindset around that $100 million. And again, like we spoke about the other day, Hayley, like and like Greg talks about, like, there's opportunities like buses are always coming along and everything, and that becomes the challenging part is sitting them all out and trying to work out what works for us and getting alignment with that and actually being comfortable to admit it and talk about it. And that for me has been the hardest thing, like actually admitting where we want to go and what our deep passion is to our goal. Because you don't talk around that at the pub and people are like, oh yeah, no, full of rubbish. But then you sort of get your head around it. There are people and there's plenty of $100 million agribusinesses and farming businesses in Australia. And we're aiming to be alongside that in our way. It comes back to the right people in the right place doing the right thing.
And for you, Anna, like what does next level of life look like for both of you?
Well, I'd like to say slowing down a bit, but I doubt that's going to happen. I would like to slow down a little bit, just really enjoying when the kids they're getting older very quickly. I would just like to be able to just enjoy every part, every chapter of the kids that they're in, enjoy what we've built without the need to expand so quickly. You know, obviously I still want to expand Red Dirt Lamb, but just kind of slowly chip away at things now rather than boom.
Focus on our systems.
Yeah, get the systems right. Enjoy the chapter that we're in. I think that's important. The kids can pick up when you're stressed or if something, you know, George looked at me the other day and asked why I was sad, or my eldest said, why are you tired? Like, they can pick up on things. So it would be nice just to be really proud, really grateful of what we've done, but just kind of slowly chip away at the next step. Yeah, just enjoy whatever comes our way.
And lastly, what advice would you give to your younger selves?
That I can do anything. I think I have been put in a box of Anna's the nurse. I probably put myself in that box, to be honest, the nurse, the wife, the mum, but that I can achieve anything. I can start a business without knowing anything about the cuts of meat, and while I've got 3 little children and while I've got a career, I can achieve whatever I want to achieve.
To me, it's just sort of like, I mean, my journey's probably never really lost sort of the aspiration and the drive to get to where we've gotten to. It's probably just been a bit kinder on yourself and that there is the opportunity there. Like, and again, after 20 years of probably being told that it's just all too hard or whatever, then that's what you're going to believe. But once you start looking and flick that mindset that there is an opportunity to achieve your goals, it's the biggest thing with farm owners. It's just we get so caught up in that scarcity mindset a lot of the time that it is hard and it is challenging. And what we've done hasn't been easy. And to be honest, probably some parts of it probably wouldn't recommend to other people. It's, as I said, there've been the learnings that we've had along the way and that self-awareness that we've got to pull up, have a spell, and just in order to be able to go again. I mean, as I said, the muscle growth happens in the rest, I think Sam says, a lot of the time. And for me, just being a bit kinder, I think I've got a bit of impatience as to want to get everything done yesterday. But we've got, and as I said, our focus for the next 12 months is just on systems and just refining and just nice growth that way and getting more out of our system and what we're doing. But it's probably just being a bit kinder on ourselves and that self-talk that, we're part of a growing business and we will achieve what we want to achieve. It just doesn't need to be in 5 minutes for me. That's probably, and particularly the last month, that's sort of the realisation where I've come to is that, let's just refine now, take the learnings on the other part and just keep refining systems and making sure we're getting A+. And that way too, as we continue to go in the next part of the growth and whether we've got employees that have got skin in the game, partners that have got skin in the game, investment partners that have got skin in the game, we've got those systems A1 to be able to bring them along on the ride with us.
Yeah, I love that. Great advice from both of you. Anna, just in finishing up, where can people find you or find your meat in Red Dirt Lamb?
So on our website,
reddirtlamb.com.au.
That one. Locally at our store, our shop front in Darling Street, Wentworth, and hopefully very soon we will be. My goal is to be Australia-wide within 12 months, and we're
all the socials though.
All of the social media. You'll be able to see George, boss everyone around, and that's Red Dirt Lamb, just Red Dirt Lamb at the Facebook and Instagram, and
Fantastic. I can't wait to see where the next level of this journey takes you. And I think if anyone's passing through Wentworth, especially on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning, drop past and see Anna and Lachie at the shop. Yeah, incredible story, both of you. I just want to congratulate you where you've come. And I think not just, like I said at the start, not on the external results necessarily, they're a great outcome, but the people you have become, what you've learned, what you've been challenged through, and how you've grown from there. I'm incredibly proud and incredibly honoured, to be a part of that journey with you both, because you're amazing human beings, for one, and you're just the way you go about life and the way you're leading your business. I know you'll turn around, and that $100 million of managed farms is completely within reach, and I can see you achieving it to no end. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, and thank you for your conversation. It's been incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hayley. And we'd just like to thank you as well for what you've done for us. It's just to have you in our corner. I don't know why we were sent someone who just fitted in with their journey so well. We're so grateful for what you do and how you turn up, and as well as the wider Farm Owners Academy team. As I said, what Greg and Deb and Robbo started, and what sort of Sam and Hutch and Tracy and all the rest of the team all continue to grow. For me, I just, can't thank you all enough, really. More than you ever know, I reckon. So thank you, and excited to complete the Platinum program and see where the rest of the journey takes us.
Look out, year 3.
And there you have it, ladies and gents. Thank you, Hayley, for such a thoughtful interview. And Lachlan and Anna, once again, congratulations. There's no doubt that it can be really challenging as a first-generation farmer to find a way to make a start in this industry. It's very hard to do it conventionally. Often as a first-generation farmer, we've got to be unconventional in the way we go about making a start and then scaling a business as a first-generation family in agriculture. And Lachlan and Anna, you just make such a great example of that. It's a story of real patience, real grit, real persistence. But if you stay with it and you stay focused, even perhaps longer than sometimes perhaps you think you should, good things come. But it's a great example too of getting the right people around you, enrolling not just your immediate team, but your broader team. So making sure that you are showing that real appreciation for agents and truck drivers and advisors and coaches. And then if you have everyone aligned to a common ideal and a common goal, it is incredible to see what's possible. So Lachlan and Anna, well done. And all the best now as you lean in and set down the foundations for your next stage of growth. And on behalf of the FOA team, we're absolutely delighted to support your journey and to help you navigate this next stage of growth. All the best. Thank you for sharing. We can't wait to see you progress now over this next 12 months and beyond. Thanks, everyone, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Profitable Farmer podcast by Farm Owners Academy. If you're new to this show, be sure to follow us. If you've been a long-time listener, let your friends know about us or come continue the conversation in the Profitable Farmer Facebook group. All the best as you grow your business and create your freedom farm. Until next time, keep being incredible.